right now to solve this issue.
It says we're live.
We are live, but hold on 1 second.
Yeah, what are your first thoughts?
I mean,
Nope, not that one.
Yeah, Hatamaki with the hot mic. Just little technical difficulties. We'll get it figured out.
Man, this is crazy.
Great Pharaoh, the gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
We live, and now I have.
Yo, what's good?
I was supposed to be on the screen, but I'm not. But I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody coming through. Man, it's
not a normal show without technical difficulties.
Everything that could go wrong went wrong, but we're here. Give me just a second. I'll be on the screen in just a second. But as you can see, the return of Raider Ray in the building.
What's good, guys? It's been a long time, but I'm excited to be back and talk some Raiders football.
Undrafted, man. Hold on 1 second, man. I know the chat is going crazy. I know they cracking jokes left and right. This is
fair enough.
It happens.
We had a hot mic pre-show. Everybody's letting us know that they can hear us. It's all good, man. It's all good.
Well, hold on. Let give you just a second. All right, I'm on the screen. All right, cool. All right. I'm on. Man, hey, what's going on, everybody, man? Hey, look, this is Undrafted, the return of Undrafted. If y'all don't know, y'all need to know. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Clock in, I should say. Clock in, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, so be notified. We're going live on both our channels. Man, Ray, man, it's been a minute. You got a beard. Look at Ray. He's coming back from his journey. You know what I mean? Like, he got the beard growing. It's long. It's full, man. Like, what's going on, bro? How you been?
I can see clearly now. All right. I went on my journey. I'm coming back. Nah, man, I'm doing good. I've been extremely busy, but it didn't stop. As far as film, as far as watching prospects, as far as following the Raiders, nothing changed over here, man. I'm still deep diving into film and players that I was excited about, other players that I wasn't as excited about. So nothing's changed over here, man.
That's cool, man. So let's get into it. Well, actually, before we even get into it, let's salute the chat, man. My guy, as you can hopefully see on the screen, my guy Daniel Kim, the king of mods. I've anointed Daniel Kim. You guys don't know, hey, y'all finding out right now. Daniel Kim is the king of mods. He says, salute, gents. Yes, sir. The return of Raider Ray. Yeah, we gonna talk to Ray. Ray, man, it's been a minute since he talked to the nation. I'm curious to hear his thoughts on the offseason. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't talked in a minute, so it's gonna be good to catch up. I mean, we talk behind the scenes, but I want to hear his full thoughts on the offseason, free agency, all that good stuff, including the draft, obviously. But yeah, appreciate you coming through, Daniel, as usual. My guy, Raiders Rebel in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. Are we under wraps? I see. I told you I'll start clowning right now. Just technical issues, man. We're just technical issues. Yeah. It was a hot mic. Yeah, man. Hey, look.
Hey, I was telling Pharaoh some things never change. If you guys remember, we were always pushing the show back. So.
I'm telling you, like, just to get this live, man, everything just start popping up. That's just sometimes that's technology, man. Like that, it happens like that.
Yeah.
Just everything kind of like happens at the same time. Sean Schefter Johnson in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. You already know Sean is always keeping the nation up to date on what's going on, man. Like he's our very own Adam Schefter. You know what I mean? Severe Raider. We gonna be talking to him. Hey, man, we're gonna have something special lined up.
Severe, man. We're probably gonna be going back and forth.
Yeah, I know. That's gonna be happening soon. He says, but I see what you did there. Back-to-back puns is advanced stuff right there. Oh, man. I think, was he talking about us in the chat?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Okay. But I appreciate you coming through, Severe. We're going to catch up in a second, too. But let's get into the show, man. Hey, look. It's been a minute, right? It's been a minute since you've talked to the nation about your thoughts. I mean, you kind of like, you had a little hiatus, and in that time, obviously the McDaniels got fired, and the AP went on his little run to eventually become head coach. Tom Telesco got hired, free agency. So let's start there. Like, let's actually start. Like, what are your thoughts on like what's going on with the Raiders as far as like, what were your thoughts on AP being the coach? Let's start there.
I mean, we go back to even, when AP took over. Me and you had those conversations, and I kind of talked about, I thought AP was the right guy for the Raiders. He might not be the right guy for 31 other teams, but for the Raiders, I felt like AP was the guy. I stated that for a long time last season. The guys bought in. I finally felt like I was watching Raider football. You know what I mean? Yeah. Obviously, the offensive product wasn't that great, but defensively, the guys were flying around, making plays. And man, it kind of felt like we were watching a little bit of the old school Raiders. So I just think for the Raiders, man, AP is the right fit. As far as Tom Telesco goes, we might get into that here in a little bit. I thought that the GM hire, I probably would have gone Ed Dodds, if I'm being completely honest with you. I was also a Champ Kelly guy. And we'll kind of dabble into those reasons why here in a little bit. As far as free agency, I did like what they did in free agency. I like going out there and getting Christian Wilkins and not overspending, but getting the big fish and then kind of playing free agency smart. Kind of like what they did last year. They didn't really spend big, but they got key guys, the Robert Splains, Marcus Epps. They were able to go out there and get guys that contributed to the team and without overspending. And I thought that they did a good job of that this year as well.
Yeah, man. So, yeah. Well, are you talking about free agency as far as like what they've done? Like they did a good job as far as targeting the right players and not overdoing it after they kind of got their big fish in Christian Wilkins.
Yep.
What do you think of Telesco, man, the GM? Like, I know. I mean, I'll just say, like, when this draft, I was questioning him a little bit, like, just because he was a GM with the Chargers for a while, and you kind of seen a large sample size of what he's done over a period of time as far as drafts, signings, free agency, and the big thing, I guess the other side is that the Raiders are like, oh well, you know what, he's always done well in the first few rounds, and the Raiders always struggled in there, and he just never had a head coach. That's why the Chargers never won, because he was bad at picking the head coach, and the Raiders kind of took that out of his hands, and they got AP for him, and we all kind of like I feel like Raider Nation is all in on AP for the most part. But you mentioned this to me earlier in the offseason about how, like, hey, look, like his
pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, his later round picks are kind of questionable. But like, what are your thoughts on Telesco?
Yeah, man. He comes out, and I think he just takes the right players early on. He lets everybody else kind of take the big swings, and whether they hit or miss, and then whatever falls into his lap. A big one that stands out to me was the Derwin James draft, where he just kind of fell into their lap, and he took him. I'm like, Derwin James, really? And then at first, it was kind of like how we were this year with Brock Bowers, where I was like, just based off of how the roster was constructed and shaped out, I was like, man, that's the route you went. But obviously, hindsight is always 20/20. Obviously, that pick worked out for him. Look, Telesco, he hits early on in the draft, and I warned you, from that third round on, you really got to watch out, because for me personally, and what I like in a GM, I like those 3rd to 7th round draft picks to be the core of the team, whether it be special teams, depth players, guys that are overproducing and on undervalued contracts. That's where you make your bread and butter as an NFL organization, and that's where you find, your Mad Maxes at the time, Hunter Renfrow, Nate Hobbs, Malcolm Kuntz's. You look at the team and the core of what the Raiders is right now, and it's a lot of those later round draft picks. It's not the early draft picks. So to me, when I'm looking for a GM, that is crucial in my opinion. And so it's nice to see somebody be able to hit in the early rounds, but the pendulum kind of swings both ways now, as to where we're probably going to hit early, and then on the back end, you're kind of throwing darts at the board and hoping something lands. That's more of Telesco's philosophy. But overall, man, I kind of told you in the beginning what Tom Telesco was, and I think we kind of seen that in this draft a little bit.
Damn, man, it's kind of early. It's kind of early to say, man. I'm gonna give him a little bit of a chance, but yeah, I mean, let's get into the draft then. All right, how do you feel about Brock Bowers at tight end? We were able to draft him at pick number 13, but obviously going into the draft, Raider Nation wanted a quarterback. But like,
yeah,
I mean, were you? Did you expect that the Raiders weren't going to get a quarterback? Because no one really expected the Raiders to draft tight end at pick number 13. I don't think anybody mocked that pick to them. But did you expect, like, just based off them being at pick number 13? It was going to be hard to get the quarterback that they wanted.
Yeah, you were going to have, in my opinion, the thing that threw me off was the Falcons. I think that caught everybody off guard. I really, honestly, I didn't see that. I would say for the most part, the board was kind of falling in a way that you could kind of predict. You know what I mean? And then once it got to the Falcons, that just switched everything up, because I knew Bo Nix was going to go to Denver. So I knew by the time we were picking at 13 that there wasn't going to be an option available. So that's where they really pivoted. And if I'm being honest, and I know that there's a severe Raider out there right now who's going to listen to this, and he's going to be sick to his stomach. But we're going to get into it, man. We're going to get into it. So look, when I look at this, you asked me about Brock Bowers, and I'll just kind of give you a prospect grade. I'm looking at this was my early, you guys. I got the original draft notes. You know what I mean, of what I had in the scouting process. And Brock Bowers was my third overall playmaker in the draft. And when you miss out on top quarterbacks, when 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12 picks, and you miss out on your pick of the litter, as a GM, you've got to start to pivot, and you can't start reaching on people. And I'll honestly say, as a team need, I'll say that Brock Bowers, I mean, I'll give that a B, and in not tight end specifically. And hear me out on this. I'm not saying that the team need was in the tight end position, because if anybody knows me, I was a big Michael Mayer guy, and I still am a big Michael Mayer guy.
Mhm.
But Brock Bowers is not. I don't want people to put him in this bubble of tight end. Like this guy he can play tight end, but he's a slot wide receiver. He's a big slot receiver with Hunter Renfrow departing. You know, let's be honest. We had Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker. Outside of that, there really wasn't a ton of depth. So when you look at explosive playmakers in the draft, I had Malik Neighbors as number 1 over Marvin Harrison Jr. just based off of yak, big explosive plays. Then I had Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2, and I had Brock Bowers at 3. So to get your third explosive playmaker in the draft and land him at 13, and to be able to plug him into an offense where Luke Getsy's going to attack seams vertically, you can line this guy up at H-back. He can do end arounds. You could put him in at fullback and come off into the backfield, into the flats behind a Michael Mayer. It's endless. And when you look at the things that you can do with Brock Bowers, when you don't have a quarterback in place, so we didn't get, Michael Penix, we didn't get Jaden Daniels, we didn't get any of those guys. So now it's about stacking this offense and building it in a way, hey, like when that quarterback does come around, you're going to plug a guy right into a system that has a ton of playmakers. So I don't hate the pick as much of a lot of people did. I understand, like, when you make that pick and you hear tight end come across the board, you're like, well, this wasn't even a need. You could have took a defensive back, and you could have took this defensive player. But if I'm being quite honest with you, I think the cornerback position, I didn't want to attack it in the first round, just because I feel like we're a free agent market away from being able to fill a hole there. And I don't think you had to allocate a first round draft pick. I would rather, with the quarterback position what it is, get a skill position player in there that can help this offense that needs a ton of help, and help move the ball. So that was, I got Kendrick. Oh, severe. But no, man. Yeah, that's how I feel. I felt like getting a weapon. If we take the tight end title out of it, I felt like getting a weapon on the offensive side of the football. It was pretty pivotal. So I like the Brock Bowers pick.
No, I grew to like it. I mean, it wasn't that I hate the player. It was just like, man, I felt like we probably could have went at a different spot there, or we could have traded down if they felt like, Brock Bowers was the best player available. But you know what, since we already have a guy in Michael Mayer, I know they're two different types of players, even though they play the same position. Maybe trade down and you still get a top O-line prospect, because right tackle's kind of been a big, huge, need for the Raiders for a while now. And, the pick right after, Brock Bowers was obviously Fuaga. And I'm not sure I'm not sure if you're like high on him, but, there was reported trade offers by Ian Rappaport from teams at pick 15 and 19, the Rams and the Colts, who obviously were eyeing Brock Bowers because they want to add more weapons. You could understand why Sean McVay would want a Brock Bowers. You could just imagine the possibilities in his offense and how he would use that type of player. So they felt like, man, this guy's still on the board, especially all the mock drafts had him going in the top 10, top 7, picks in the draft. So it was kind of a surprise. I guess the Raiders had that opportunity to draft him. But I will say this. For this pick to actually make sense, would you say, I'll ask this as a question. Would you say for it to make sense for the Raiders, would he have to be an elite player? Is the bar like, oh, if he's just good, is that good enough? Is he a good player?
Are we talking about this year alone, or just? I'm just saying
Bowers overall, not this year. I'm obviously, we'll give him some time to develop. I mean, come on now. At the end of the day, we understand what it is.
Look, I think that this guy has the skill set to be among, an elite player. He's going to be unique in what he can do. You're going to see him do things that maybe other guys who are listed as tight end not do at all. You're going to move him all over the place, like Deebo Samuel, but in the form of a tight end. You know what I mean? Like you're going to be able to do so many. I say all this, but my big hang up, honestly, is Luke Getsy. Like I can get excited about these ideas and stuff, but I don't know what Luke Getsy's really going to do. You know, and that was my biggest concern. Like I wasn't huge on Cliff Kingsbury. We talked about that in that process. But I'm also not that big on Luke Getsy either. I'm not the biggest fan. So, but I will say, man, he had a group of tight ends out there in Chicago, and he was able to utilize them. And if we can build this team getting vertical and attacking the seams, I think Brock Bowers, man, he could be really good. And yeah, he probably does have to be more elite to justify where he's at. But that's a big projection. That's like, let's readdress that by the time like he's signing his next deal, to be honest.
And the only reason why I say that is because I understand that he's the best player on the board, and that's what everybody's been saying. Well, he's the best player on the board. What do you expect him to get? But if he just turns out to be like a good player, especially with all of our needs, and if let's be honest, like it's kind of a luxury pick. Picking Brock Bowers at tight end, it could be looked at as a luxury pick because we already drafted a tight end in the second round last year. We have 2 playmaking wide receivers, obviously Devontae Adams leading the pack, and we add a tight end to that offense. So what I'm saying is, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, wouldn't you think that he would have to be elite to justify that pick? Like, he would have to develop into an elite player. If he just becomes a good player, then what is that like? Okay, you have a lot of good like you have because Myers is a good player. Devontae would say it's still elite player, and then you got Mayer. You know, he's still developing. I don't want to say he's a good player yet, but he's developing. Like, and I'm not shutting the door at it. It's just we just haven't seen production yet, but we see. Oh, okay, this guy. We can see the talent that he has, but like. You know, when you pick a guy top 15, wouldn't you say like, all right, that's a guy that you would want to be elite?
So this goes back to like kind of what I was saying, like how my big board was laid out was he's my number 3 overall playmaking prospect, and you got him at 13 because of the run at quarterback, something that you missed out on. So yeah, to get a top 3 explosive playmaker in the draft at 13, I don't think we need to keep looking at this as a negative. Like the fact of the matter is we have one of the more explosive offensive weapons that we've probably had since, you know, drafting Henry Ruggs and the things that you can kind of do with Bauer. I think we also forget too what this guy meant for the University of Georgia. And like, we're talking about a guy whose pass catching stats are being listed up there with AJ Green. You know what I mean? We wouldn't be mad at, you know, the comparisons of Brock Bowers to a tier of AJ Green. Like, what are we even talking about here? So
yeah,
I think what makes this pick really look the way it is the quarterback situation, and everybody had their hopes up. Every single, you know, I was watching you guys, everybody had the Raiders taking a quarterback. Everybody fell in love with Michael Penix late when they realized that Jaden Daniels was going to be gone. So when they didn't get Michael Penix, it left a sour taste in the mouth of a bunch of Raider fans, and that's just the reality of it. But man, say next year or you know, we land a quarterback or make something shake, Brock Bowers' pick is going to look really good. That luxury pick that we're talking about is going to make this offense look really good. So yeah, I don't view Brock Bowers as like, oh, we took a tight end in the first round. Like, no, we took an explosive playmaker who's going to move the ball and get a ton of yak, which is something that this offense is missing. Like Devontae Adams can route people up, create separation. Jacoby is one of those clutch players. Trey can stretch the field vertically. But man, you need a guy who could take a 4-yard flat and cruise up the field for 40 yards. You know what I mean? And just flip the game like that. And that's Brock Bowers. So
yeah. No, and I'm not questioning that. I'm not questioning the talent. I like the talent. I can rock with that. I can see how he could potentially complement the players on offense, especially a Michael Mayer, who got a lot of his yards and catches between you know the line of scrimmage and like 10 yards and down. I think that was where Michael Mayer at this point in his career where he was making a lot of his money last season. Even though he didn't have as much production as we wanted him to be, you could blame that on everybody but Mayer. You know what I mean? That's McDaniels, everybody that was a part of that offensive staff. But that's where we seen him kind of make his money early on. But it's just that, like, for me, it's like, for Bowers to really make sense as a pick, he better be the guy. He better be that dude. Like, he better be an elite tight end. Like, and talent, and you could see it. You could see it, but you don't want to call it yet, because, like, at the end of the day, like, you gotta. It's one thing to talk about it. You got to be about it, and we got to see it on Sundays. So we'll see how it shakes out.
I'm pretty comfortable in saying, like, bro, like, Brock Bowers is a stud. Like, right. He is a stud. Like, I would not be complaining regardless of the quarterback situation if you told me we got Malik Neighbors. You think I'm going to be complaining that we just threw in another big-time explosive playmaker into the offense? No. Like, you can't get enough of those at this time. Like, our defense with Christian Wilkins, and, I really do think that we could go get a veteran corner, Xavier Howard, Stevie Nelson, I know you guys were talking about Stephon Gilmore. Like, there's names out there that you can kind of get by another season and kind of fill that hole. I get all the talk about Quinyon Mitchell, like a trade back and all that, but look, Quinyon is going to have a baptism by fire in the NFL anyways. He's coming out of Toledo. He's not lined up against, the Justin Jeffersons, the Devontae Adams. He hasn't seen that kind of talent yet. I think he's a really good prospect. He is my number one corner, and I like Quinyon a lot. But to me, within the last couple of years, I've been kind of soured on first-round defensive backs. Like,
especially if you're a Raider fan, like, I don't think
the hit rate on those, like, it's just I'm cool I'm cool on that. So I'm okay with Brock Bowers, man. I think he's an explosive playmaker. And you talked about Fuaga. I just think if you would have taken him, who knows what round 2 looks like? You know what I mean? Getting Jackson Powers Johnson. And the way that the first 2 rounds worked out for me, I can't complain, to be honest with you.
No, I hear you. So let's move it on, man. We could talk about Brock Bowers and talk about if it was the right move. We understand that the talent's not the question. Is like, did the Raiders make the right move and maybe drafted him, or they could have traded down? That's a whole. We can go back and forth on that, man, and we'll have plenty to talk about that. But that being said, people are talking about, like, the rest of the draft here. Like, my guy Stem says, only problem was we had to take DJ Glaze because the well was going dry. Like, the NFL tried to F us out of the QB and offensive tackle. That's another one right there. Like, what did you think of that offensive tackle taken in the 3rd round? That was kind of a surprise because, like, a lot of people projected him to go, like, in the later rounds, but Raiders kind of felt the need to take offensive tackle, even though there's probably better players on the board, which is kind of interesting because they went best player available first couple rounds, but in the 3rd round, they're just like, all right, these offensive tackles are getting off the board left and right. And they just went ahead and just drafted Glaze. What do you think of Glaze?
Yeah, so a few things here. When the first 6 quarterbacks went, I was like, man, are we going to see the Raiders panic here? And they didn't panic, and they took the best player on their board. And I feel like the first time I seen this team panic was when we got to the 3rd round. And you alluded to it in asking the question is all the tackles started going. And when you look at the tackles taken after DJ Glaze, like, Delmar was like the last one, you know what I mean, that you could kind of lump in that group. To me, it was a reach. I was not a fan of that pick. But again, Tom Telesco is a PFF guy, and when you look at the PFF scores on Delmar, on his pass protection, you know what I mean. I think don't quote me on this, but I want to say it was like 7th or 8th in the draft as far as PFF grade as pass pro. So I'm sure he's looking at that. He fits the mold and the size of what he typically drafts. So yeah, this is where that moment where I told you about Tom Telesco. This is where Tom Telesco started showing his colors a little bit. So
right,
it really poked its head in the 3rd. I wasn't a huge fan, especially with the players that were on the board. There was a ton of guys there that I really thought he could have went with, and even if you took a guard and projected him at tackle, or a tackle that's probably going to project as guard, but you can kind of maybe work with him in that middle round in that year 1. At the end of the day, man, this is a this is a swing tackle. Like that's what it is. It's a swing tackle. You needed depth. Thayer Mumford, in my eyes, is going to be the guy with what they want to do on offense. They want to get downhill. They want to run the zone concept as well. Because a lot of that gets misconstrued too. They always say like, oh, we're just going to run wide zone. Well, it's going to be a blend, because when you look at how our line is built, you've got Thayer Mumford, and then you've got Jackson Powers Johnson. If he is going to be the right guard, you really have a right side that is built for power. Like gap running, those are some bullies up front. And then you look at the center to the left tackle, and Colton Miller can kind of do both of those things, right? He can play tackle and he can play power and zone.
Yeah.
But you look at Parham, James, and Colton, they're more designed for that zone scheme. So they still have a weird blend. So yeah, you're still gonna see gap, you're gonna still see duo, you're still gonna see inside zone, outside zone. They're gonna do a lot of that stuff. So until they really find an identity on what they do well. So yeah, Delmar Glaze, though, man, for me, he's a swing tackle. Thayer's probably going to get the start for the year, and that's that.
I even heard that he might even play guard too. Like that, there's a possibility where his guard might be his position when it's all
his future. I think it's his future home.
Yeah. But maybe to begin with, they'll have him like compete
tackle
for that right tackle spot.
Yeah,
and see how it shakes out. But hey, look, they made the pick. That was their guy. I'm sure there was other guys that they wanted, but they just felt like they needed to go at that draft tackle in the third round, especially with all those O tackles or offensive tackles getting off the board in that round. But that being said, any like guys that people need to look out for? You know what I mean? Did you like any of the later round picks?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, the third and fourth round. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the third and fourth round for me it is what it is. But as we started getting later, like the fifth, sixth, and seventh, like Trey Taylor, he won the Thorpe Award, best DB. I like Dylan Laube. Dylan Laube, I think, is going to be a stud. Like Amir Abdullah. Do we still got Brandon Bolden on the roster, or did they release him?
He still might be on the team.
He
still might be on the team, man. I think
either way, I mean,
he got connections.
It really don't matter. Yeah. He had
he got connections.
To put it lightly. But yeah, man, Dylan Laube, I really like that pick. MJ Devonshire, I like that one. The reason why I like MJ more than I liked DeCamerion was MJ has ball production. You know what I mean? He has he's like a turnover machine. This guy lives and breathes football. And I think MJ's game is going to really translate over. When you're talking about a guy who hasn't had historically turnovers in college, that really doesn't translate that well into the NFL as he's just going to become this ball hawk. So I like that MJ. I like the upside more with MJ. And then when you're talking about special teams, man, there's an undrafted guy that we're going to talk about. Obviously, this is undrafted, so we got to shine a light on some of the undrafted gems. So we'll get into him too.
Yeah, we'll get into it in a second. But yeah, man, hey, man, people, hey, man, people shouting you out, man. Ray is back. I prefer. Oh, man, hey, man, let's
come on, man.
Come on, bro. Come on, man. Hey, man, look, it's crazy. We're gonna have it's gonna be me, Severe, and Ray in a second, man. So just be on the lookout for that, man, on Monday. So don't speak. But now my guy Severe, man, hey, man, he's my dude, man. Like that dude, I know a lot of people question him sometimes because he has his takes, but hey, he stands firm on it. He backs it up. So come on, man.
Severe has a seat at the table, so let's not disrespect. All right.
Hey, look, and it's gonna be a good conversation once we add Severe to the equation, man. And we're gonna get to that in a second. But be on the lookout for that. But that being said, all right. So look, the draft is done. You know what I mean? Yeah. We went through free agency. Obviously, you're happy with the coach. You're kind of iffy about the GM, but it is what it is. He's here. Moving forward, the big question I'm gonna pull up. Someone brought this up right now. I think they probably seen the title, and we didn't end up getting a quarterback. We didn't end up getting a quarterback in the draft after talking about that quarterback position the entire offseason, talking about getting Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix. whatever quarterback, insert the quarterback name, you name it. We were trying to connect the dots, and Severe always got the best jokes in the room. He says choosing between AOC and Minshew at QB is like deciding what you want to eat at Arby's. Man, that just golly, man. Shots, man, right there. But look, that being said, let's just get into it, man. Look, who is it, man? Is it AOC or Minshew for you going into the season? Because that's basically our quarterback options. Who if you had to put money on it, who would it be? Would it be AOC as the starting quarterback for the Raiders, or would it be Gardner Minshew? And you're out there in you're in Colts country. You're a Raiders fan in Colts country, so you had a pretty good seat at looking at what Minshew was doing every Sunday. So give Raider Nation maybe a sneak preview on what type of player they're going to be getting.
Look, he's gritty, he's tough. The people are going to love his charisma and his character. He's going to be a guy that you root for. He's obviously a little bit more athletic than Aiden O'Connell. He's been around the game. Obviously, he's kind of like that Grizzly vet. To be, man, like I'm not blown away by this. I can't believe like this is what we're going into the season with. But you can't fight it. You got to face it, and this is where we're at. But if I had to put money on it, to go back to your question, if I had to put money on it, I would probably say that Gardner Minshew is going to be the starter, just based off of what he can do with his legs, kind of that veteran experience. I think he might be able to edge out a little bit more. But to be honest with you, it would not surprise me at all to see Aiden O'Connell develop, because the reason why I kind of want Aiden O'Connell to be the guy, one, he's obviously homegrown. Two, I think he got the short end of the stick last season. Throwing him into the Chargers game when he was taking practice squad reps. He had no reps with the starters. And then AP took over, and this guy the wheel was spinning the entire season, being a rookie and trying to catch up and salvage a season. And you're trying to develop chemistry on the fly with Devontae and Jacoby and Michael. And you get a new offensive play caller and Bo Hardigree. And look, there's just a lot going on for a fourth-round rookie, and I thought he handled it extremely well. That being said, I didn't see one game where Minshew didn't complete a pass for 3 quarters. And then I didn't see Minshew lose a game 0-3 either. So as much as I like Aiden O'Connell, I could see them going with Minshew, at least starting off. But I don't know, man. It's one of those flip of the coins for me. I know we're on undrafted, but it's one of those 50-50 things.
Yeah, I like the thing with Minshew. I can understand like people mention that, oh well, he could use his legs, and I think with the money they just handed out to Minshew, I felt like they're pretty much betting on him to start. But if you had to ask me who had the most upside, I think AOC has the most upside, because he was the 4th-round rookie last year. We kind of know what we're getting out of Minshew. We know what he is. I mean, he's a journeyman backup quarterback. Who can start for you for a few games. I'm not sure if you can count on him to start an entire season and lead you to the playoffs. He almost did with the Colts. That being said, he almost did it with the Colts. But I don't know if the upside is there with Minshew. But with AOC, there is a little bit of like, okay, if he can just every now and then just make the defense play using his legs. I'm not saying he has to run away from DNs and pass rushers. I'm talking about like, he recognizes it's man-to-man coverage. There's nobody there. Literally, there's no QB spy, and he just runs and gets a yard. Just makes the defense pay every now and then, as well as be accurate, as well as protect the football, and run the offense. And like I said, he was a rookie last year. He was a rookie.
Yeah. No, I would love to see
4th-round
Aiden
rookie,
O'Connell.
and the offensive coordinator. Is he in the league? I mean, I think he might be a QB coach.
He's a QB coach.
He's a QB coach.
You're 100% spot on. Like, as a fan, like I was saying, like I would like to see AOC get the starting reps, and then if Gardner Minshew earns it, cool. He earned it and he beats out AOC. But just like AP was saying, it's going to be his job to lose. So yeah, I hope he takes the next step. He looks but he looks big. Like he looks like he's been putting in work. You know what I mean? And it looks like he's bought in. And I like AOC. I really do. I see what you're saying with his upside. I would love to see him get OTAs, training camp reps with the starters, and just build on what he did last year and let it really be his job to lose. So I see what you're saying, man. I really do. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the other side of it is like AOC. There's one side of it is like AOC could have just, you know what, this is my opportunity. I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna, and obviously he's a rookie. I mean, he's an older rookie. He's like 25, 26. So, but it's not like he had it figured out like his first year in the league. It's not like he,
Right.
You gotta like expect him to like, all right, you know what, everything to slow down. It is going to be another year, a different offense. But that being said, the speed of the NFL, he was able to see that. And now, like, you give him, and that's another thing too, that the Raiders are kind of betting on, is they were like, you know what, we can't get the best young QBs out this draft. Our quarterbacks are going to be AOC and Minshew. So what are we going to do? We're going to make sure that everybody can get open.
Yeah. There's not going to be lack of weapons in Vegas.
Man, we're going to make sure Michael Mayer is going to get open. We're going to you got Brock Bowers, arguably, obviously the best tight end in college football, even when Michael Mayer was in college. Like literally the runner-up to him winning the best tight end award in college football was Michael Mayer. And so you got the best two tight ends the last few years coming out, playing on the same team. Probably they could potentially be the best tight end room in the league, if they live up to their potential. And then on top of that, you got Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and if Trey Tucker maybe takes a little bit of the next step, because Devontae Adams, every chance he gets, is always hyping him up like, man, I didn't come into the league like this. Like, this guy's coming in way ahead of the learning curve, and that's the impact of Devontae Adams.
Yeah, and I think as well as talking about AOC, like you've seen the worst. Like, it's not going to get worse than what it was last year. Your head coach getting fired, new play caller, like I was saying, the wheels spinning. You're trying to get caught up on playbook and install game plans weekly. It's not going to get any, like, we've seen the worst from Aiden O'Connell, and there's still a little bit there where you're like, man, like if we can just kind of give him more reps and more time. So no, I get it. And to be honest, too, about the Michael Mayer and the Brock Bowers, like, when you look fundamentally at the NFL playing too high, and a lot of these defenses are getting lighter in the box, and these linebackers are getting smaller, there's going to be trends in the NFL to where it was like wide zone, and then your edge rushers became a huge popular thing to contain the edge and get after the quarterbacks. And then defensive tackle kind of got neglected. Well, then the guys who could pass rush at the defensive tackle position, their value skyrocketed because there was less of those. So there's this trend going on in the NFL. And I think if the Raiders have the personnel right now to kind of take advantage of those lighter boxes, smaller linebackers, safeties that are coming down in the box to cover tight ends, you're not going to be able to do all that kind of stuff against Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. Like, they're going to be a little bit different. And then that's not talking about Devontae Adams and Jacoby. And so I like stylistically the things that you could do. Like, if you're a film X's and O's guy, without you being in the league or anything, you can already come up in your head like, oh, wow, like the opportunities are endless with what we can kind of do offensively with all of these weapons. So yeah, it's exciting, man. I hope AOC can do it. I hope he's our guy, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think that's the approach that they're kind of going about it. Like, hey, we can't get our quarterback, but guess what? We're still going to build this roster. We're still going to have a talented team, because right now, I feel like it's crazy to say, but literally it's night and day from how Raider Nation felt about the offense and defense from last year going into the season. Last year was like, oh man, we're confident about the offense, but the defense like is going to make or break the Raiders. This year, it's like we're confident about the defense, but the offense is going to make or break this team. And it's not for lack of weapons; it's more of a quarterback issue. And I feel like they're kind of going about it like some of the teams in the past. Like, you look at the 49ers, who were super talented, but the quarterbacks probably not as much. They had Jimmy G running the show for a little bit. Obviously, they got Purdy running the show right now, and he's getting it done for them. But that being said, like they're going about it a different way, and I think the Raiders are like, you know what? Until we get our guy, we still can put a talented football team, and then eventually, when we get that guy, he's just going to come in running because you got everything you need.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can get that guy within the next couple years, or the guy's already on the roster, whether it's Minshew or AOC. I'm not saying that the guy's on the roster. I think that guy is probably going to be in next year's draft, but that's just my opinion. That's how I look at it. But we got a super chat, man. My guy, Space Beast, man. I appreciate you, my guy. He says, what do you think the Raiders' record will be next season? Whew. All right, they finished season 8-9 last year. Did we get better? Let's start there. Did we get better?
I've got us, if we performed at the absolute best, I got us at a 10-win. But to be honest, if I'm sitting here right now, I'm probably saying we're probably 9-8. I think the limitations at quarterback, I think it's going to stand out a little bit. And one thing I do want to say, like, man, over here on Undrafted, we try to be smart about, how we view the Raiders. And I think last year we went into this thinking about how special this offense can be. And now I see that same thing with the fan base talking about the defense. But I kind of want to pump the brakes a little bit. I'm excited about Christian Wilkins. I think we've been looking for a defensive tackle forever, and he is a superstar. He's a stud, and to see him next to Max Crosby, I couldn't be happier. Jack Jones, absolute playmaker, the AP connection, everything is just perfect. What I want to see out of this defense is was this a flash in the pan? Was this a defense that was prisoner of the moment? AP took over, and that was like that jolt that defense needed for the season. Or is this real? Like, do the Raiders have a real defense? Like week 1 through 6, like, do you look like how you did at the end of the year? Are you still that dominant defense? I want to see that. I want to see that carry over, because I don't just want to assume that the Raiders defense has arrived. I don't want to go in with that mentality. I want to see these guys go out here, put in the work, and I know that they will, but is our defense real? Is it real? Like, really real? Can we honestly say that? So I just want to go in even keeled this season and not make the expectation
that even keeled, Ray. You always go even.
I know. But
it's time to just go in and pick a side, man. Just pick a side. I'm just playing.
Are you confident? Are you confident though that like this defense is real?
Well, look, I kind of, just to go back to Space Beast's question, he said, what do you think the Raiders' record will be? So these are the questions that I have with the Raiders. Offense. What is our running game going to look like with Zamir Wright really taking a bigger role? 17 game season, he's going to be the starter, and then it's everybody else. So what is that going to look like? Lou Getsy, offensive coordinator. I don't know what to expect from him. I really don't. Like, I wasn't super excited when we hired him, and I'm trying to grow to love it. I mean, I'm like, okay, well, he's had some, top ranking rushing offenses, but then you start looking at who his quarterback was, and a lot of those rushing yards came from Justin Fields. So I'm like, all right. And then the development of Justin Fields didn't really happen under Getsy. So what makes you think he's going to come in and do that for AOC or do that for whoever the quarterback is in this offense?
Right.
So that's the question mark right there. There's offense, right? Defense, I'm excited, bro. I'm not going to lie. Like, understand that you're saying that, and we got to see it, but Christian Wilkins in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have to be dominant. He could just be good. No. Because we already have a dominant pass rusher in Max Crosby. So if you have a good pass rusher in the middle, that we all know quarterbacks do not like pressure up the middle. So automatically, eventually, if Christian Wilkins gets a couple of pressure up the middle, they're going to have to double him. And then you already know Max Crosby, you know what he's going to do on the other side. And if Kuntz could just capitalize on what if he can just build off what he did last season, and Tyree Wilson, I think is going to take the next step. You know what I mean? I think we're going to see a better version of Tyree Wilson just because he's 1 year removed from that injury. And if you guys remember the doctor that broke down his injury, everything he said was true.
Right.
Everything he said as far as his
you,
injury coming back. So I'm just the defense. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go. Oh man, it's kind of early too. I actually want to see a few preseason games. I want to see how everything shakes out. But early on, I'm gonna say 10-7. 10-7.
All right.
I'm gonna say 10-7.
Look, no, I agree with you based
what
off
is it
of
today?
Like,
It's May 4th.
10-7.
Write it down,
as
man.
Of May 4th.
May 4th. Pharaoh said the Raiders will go 10-7 next year. So next season. So it's early. A lot can happen. Obviously injuries. NFL is a year-to-year league, week-to-week league. So we don't know what's going to happen. But as of right now, I think that they have a good chance of going 10-7 under AP because I know that they're going to be playing hard under him. You know that it's going to be a well-coached team. But we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But I'm going to go 10-7.
Yeah, I would agree too. I would, if I had to move the needle one direction or another, I would lean it towards it's more real. I really believe in Malcolm Kuntz. I've been saying that. I have videos. I have film breakdowns before he was even getting chewed out by Josh McDaniels. You know what I mean? And never saw the field. I had film breakdowns of Malcolm Kuntz, and I was always so high on the talent that he was, and is, and we're starting to see the fruits of that a little bit. And I really believe in Malcolm. I think Tyree, like you alluded to, I think he's going to take that next step because you kind of hear him sitting alongside Max Crosby, and Max Crosby has not sugarcoated his position at all. Like he's being tough on Tyree, and I think Tyree needed that. And he's raising that standard within Tyree, and I really appreciate that out of Max Crosby, just elevating the guys around him. But man, Christian Wilkins, like, this is what we've been waiting on. This is the move, right? This is the one that we have been begging for forever. And so you get this defensive line up to speed, man, and getting after the quarterback. That's why I feel like on the back end, you can plug and play some veterans because I think these guys in the front seven, they're going to get after quarterbacks this year. So, yeah, man, the defense, you're right. The defense is something to be excited about.
Facts. And I know we got another super chat. Cuban Raider man says, salute from Cuba, Raider Nation. Hey, man, appreciate you, man. I actually got to go to Cuba, man. I've never been, but I want to visit, man. But appreciate you, man. Raider Nation is worldwide. Look, as you can see right now, man, we got a fellow Raider fan all the way from Cuba. Man, I appreciate you coming through. Appreciate the super chat. But, man, the chat is going wild right now. Let's get into it. That being said, Let's move on, man. Let's move it along a little bit, man. Let's go to the undrafted gem. You know what I mean? This is the undrafted show for a lot of different reasons, but the draft just happened, and not everybody was able to get drafted. Who is the undrafted gem in Raider Ray's eyes, man?
Man, so undrafted is a big bright spot for this channel. The inspiration behind it is for this channel name was, always overlooked, always have to grind and eat your way to the table. And I think Lakeedra Griffin this year, wide receiver, Farrell, I hear you on live shows talking about you want speed on the offense. Well, here's your 4-3 burner. You want a guy with a new kickoff rule? Okay, well, here's a guy who led the nation in kickoff average return yards. This is a guy with this new rule being implemented. I see him being splashy. This is going to be, similar to what I think Trey Tucker kind of did. He's going to have those plays here and there where he just explodes off the screen and you're like, man, who is this guy? And so I think he's really going to make his money this preseason. If he can show a flash in the return game, I think that we have a real chance of finding a guy here who can take advantage of this rule. Same with Dylan Lobby. I think those two, man, him, Dylan Lobby, Trey Tucker, and Amir Abdullah, like these guys are going to be big time special teams players. And then you're talking about MJ Devonshire with his 4.3 speed. So now, man, I've got Griffin. I've got him being able to be a flashy behind the line of scrimmage. You want to do a little end around. You want to give him a short screen and watch his speed take over. You want to attack vertically in the seam or do a quick slant and make a guy miss and take the ball up 30 yards upfield. Yeah, Griffin's my guy. I like him. I think he has something. He's going to bring it to the table.
Okay. So that's a guy that you see that can make the team just because of his speed and possibly what he can give to you with special teams. And another guy that gives us something for special teams. You brought him up earlier, but that's one of the values for him to make the team as well is Dylan Lobby too. He's had some he's been productive, with special teams, whether as a punt returner and kick returner. So it's gonna
He's
be
a real football player, bro. Like,
yeah, man. What do you think about the rule changes too? Like, do you think that's gonna be a game changer as far as you're gonna see more touchdowns happening on special teams? Because it's just gonna be
excited, bro. Like, we always talk about special teams guys, and it sounds more of like a slogan or a quote more than anything. Like when you actually see it on film, you know what I mean? Real special teams, like we're really going to be able to see some explosive big plays, and I think it's something that's been missing. I felt like the kickoff rule, like setting it at the 25 and all the stuff that they kind of did, it really eliminated for me like big explosive plays. This is a complete counter to that, and I think these guys that are later in the draft, so when we're taking a swing on these 6th, 7th round picks, these undrafted guys, these guys are really going to make a living in the NFL now with these new kickoff changes. And I think there's going to be a lot more names surfacing up in the NFL. And I think that's a win-win for everybody, fans, teammates, guys that are picked later in the draft. They have something really to fight for, and a real opportunity to put something on film. So yeah, man, I love it. I love it personally.
Yeah. And Stem says, I just subscribed to Undrafted. So Undrafted is the show. So it's a collab between me and Raider Ray. So I'm assuming that you're saying that you just subscribed to Real Raider Ray. Make sure to head over to his channel. We're going live on both our channels right now. And yeah, head over to his channel, man, and subscribe, man. Hey, you guys won't be disappointed. There's a little bit of a hiatus, but we're gonna he's coming back, and we're gonna get back to it. And hey, man, be on the lookout for the Undrafted show between me and Raider Ray, and obviously every Mondays, the 50-50 show with me and Severe. And be on the lookout because it's gonna be me, Ray, and Severe this Monday. So
it's gonna be interesting.
Oh yeah, man. That's Severe about to come in, man. He's gonna be trying to chiming in and
look.
And
I already know Severe's gonna have the sound bites over me. I get it. That's gonna happen. But we'll see how it all plays out when the games are played.
Yeah, man. Hey, the chat's been going crazy, man. Hey, I appreciate everybody coming through. It's been a great show. We just wanted to get in here, talk real quick. It's been a minute since Ray was able to come on the show and go live. Any last thoughts, man? What to look forward to? Because right now, I think a lot of people are kind of talking about how can the Raiders shore up some, because they have 3 available roster spots, and some teams have kind of went out and signed some players. I think the Raiders just signed recently Gallup. I don't know how you feel about him at receiver.
I mean, look, at this point, with the roster that we've built, I mean, we're just adding weapons. So as a 5th option, he really is like 5th or 6th option in this offense. So yeah, I mean, I'll take it. We'll see. Is this like a Demarcus Robinson all over again? Is this, those veterans that we signed that we thought was going to be a, something, and they ended up not making the team? Who knows? But I mean, I like Michael Gallup. Obviously his injuries has bothered him, but no, man, I will say this though, like with those roster spots open, I was messaging Severe the other day because obviously we're talking about AOC and Gardner Minshew, and there's a lot to be desired there. Man, I threw it out there and kind of put it in his ear too a little bit, was Trey Lance, former 1st round pick, obviously hasn't really got an opportunity. He's sitting back there in Dallas, and when I think of Trey Lance, and I'm not saying he is this guy, but I'm saying I'm curious if you gave him a full season and then maybe going into that 2nd year, kind of like what we're doing with Aiden O'Connell, is a little bit of the Jordan Love effect. I think you have to rebuild the Trey Lance confidence a little bit, and I think you have to give him reps. He had that bad injury. He got traded, fan base turn on him. Like, that's a lot to deal with. And he's like 2 years younger than Aiden O'Connell. So, I mean, I think you would swap picks, maybe give up, a later round draft pick, whatever it may cost, bring him in the room, get a young guy in there who can move with his legs, and he has an arm. He has a live arm. So just see what you can get, man. And maybe he might not be able to compete with Dak Prescott right now, but I think Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, that'd be more in his tier. And just kind of see what Trey could come in and do, man. I'm not even projecting him to win the starting job, but I would like to see him get an opportunity with the Raiders and maybe see if he can come away with something.
See, the only problem I have with Lance is he's trash.
I hear you. I
mean, it's just I've never seen him. It's a lot of projection.
No,
with
you're
him.
right.
It's
It's
a lot of projection. So, and I think he's on his last year of his rookie deal. So he better come. I don't know how many years he has left. I think he's probably on his last year of his rookie deal, right?
Yeah, he is.
But I don't. Yeah, so it would have to be for like a 7th round pick, or some or some.
His
pennies.
issues.
Couple pennies.
I mean, some of them is mechanical, but a lot of it is the processing. A lot of it is the play recognition. It's pre-play. It's getting to the line of scrimmage and
I'm just gonna throw this out there. Do you want to combine that with Getsy? Do you really want to combine that with Getsy when he had a quarterback where he never?
Let's be
really
real. I don't know what I'm comfortable with Getsy. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we could have had Jaden Daniels, and I don't know, verdict is out on Getsy. You know what I mean? Verdict is out on Getsy as far as I'm concerned.
Well, hey, look, at the end of the day, like, that's the guy that AP decided to hire at offensive coordinator, and that could make or break him. You know what I mean? That hire is huge for him because he has that defensive side locked up, but like if he can't get a guy on the offensive side to, that's something that if he gets wrong, then I don't know if he could survive. I don't know for how long can he survive with a terrible offense, like. Especially in today's league, today's NFL. But it is what it is, man. We can go back and forth, man. We'll have plenty to talk about. Hey, me, you, Severe, about to get together in just a second, so we'll be on the lookout for that. We're gonna be live this Monday on the 50-50 show. Just be on the lookout for that. It's gonna be on Monday night. Make sure to turn on the notifications. I know we don't go on time. I understand, but if you hit the notifications, you'll be notified once we go live. That's the best way to know that we'll be going live. So just Monday night, we'll be going live, and it's gonna be me, Severe, and Raider Ray. Be on the lookout for that, man. It's gonna be a great show. But yeah, like I said, man, we appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in at this point, clock out, hit that like button, subscribe. Like I said, hit that notification bell. We're going live on both our channels. So if you haven't subscribed to Raider Ray, what are you waiting for? I mean, you just heard this guy talk, man. He knows his stuff. So make sure to subscribe to his channel. But yeah, like I said, man, hey, be on the lookout for Monday's show. Any last thoughts for Raider Nation?
Yeah, let me just close out with this, man. I took a hiatus, but we didn't lose any of the subscribers, which that is a testament to Raider Nation and how you view, me and Pharaoh and myself and the content. Like the fact that you guys have stuck through. Usually when people take a hiatus, they lose quite a bit of people. I appreciate that. I really do. So if you guys go over and subscribe, man, we're going to get back into it. And we're going to be having a lot of good discussion. So I appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody that is contributing to the show. You guys are huge. You guys contribute in a big way, and we really appreciate it. So make sure you subscribe to Pharaoh, Severe Raider Ray, and yeah, we'll keep this thing going.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate everybody coming through. And I think we got one last super chat. My guy, Space Beast, man. Appreciate you, my guy. The 33rd and 1/3 show. Hey, man, it's still
that's
gonna be
actually
the
hilarious.
Show,
that's pretty good,
Beast, man. You got jokes.
That's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty good.
Hey, man, appreciate you, my guy. Hey, appreciate the super chats. Appreciate the support. Hey, we love doing this. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit that notification bell, man. We just wanted to come in here, talk some football. But we'll be back here on Monday, man. So be on the lookout for that, man. Appreciate everybody coming through. All right, Raider Nation. Peace.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.